the age of 12, I had to go to work to help support the family. I went to the tobacco trade, making stogies for the Daniel Day Company in Pittsburgh. And I continued that profession until 1860, when I moved to Wheeling, Virginia, and started my own business in the same trade on 14th Street in downtown Wheeling. The following year, in 1861, the United States went to war with itself in the Civil War, and I immediately enlisted in the Union forces under Captain John Carlin, in what became West Virginia's first light artillery division, known as Carlin's Battery. That year, we saw minor action up and down the western front of the war, but then in 1862, we made our way to Winchester, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, and saw a major confrontation. In our first confrontation in June, the battle lasted from Friday well into Saturday night. 70 of our men were captured. 19 of us, including myself and Captain Carlin, made our way back to Wheeling. There, we waited, for prisoner exchange was common at that point. And our fellow soldiers were released, returned to Wheeling, regrouped, and in 1863 made our way back to the Shenandoah Valley. There, we fought major battles throughout 1863 and 1864. But my luck went south in June of 1864. We were in battle and retreated, but after 3 days, myself and 17 of my fellow soldiers were surrounded and taken captive. We were moved to Andersonville, Georgia, to a prison camp that was known for its lack of acceptable living conditions for the soldiers. 45,000 men were inside that facility in 1864. Only 32,000 left. When we walked in that camp, we saw what used to be men, but were now skeletons, half starved to death, covered in filth and vermin from a poor living condition. There was one stream that ran through the center of that facility. That stream served as both our drinking water, where we bathed, and what we used for the toilet. The Georgia heat made the odors unbearable, and the insects were rampant. In November of that year, Atlanta fell to the Union forces, and we were released. We moved to different prison camps across the South. Again, only 32,000 men got to leave that camp. 13,000 died in just a year's time from disease and poor living conditions. After the war, we found out that the commander of that post, Henry Wirtz, was the only Confederate officer to be tried, found guilty, and hanged for his crimes of war. In 1865, after the war, I returned to Wheeling and set up shop on 12th and Water Street, in what became the Nail City Stogie and Tobacco Company. We grew the business steadily into the 1890s, when at that point I was producing 150,000 stogies per week. I added 2 more stores to my facility, but in 1896, when we eclipsed the 1,000,000 stogies per month mark, I had to move that business to Moundsville, West Virginia to accommodate the increased demand. There, myself and my 7 children continued to grow that business well into the 20th century. I retired in 1901 and entered politics as the mayor of Moundsville, and I held that post until 1904 in my passing. So again, my name is Henry Seaman, and thank you very much for listening to my story.